Welcome to Trading Lounge and the indices, and we're looking at the S&P here. We're looking at a bearish count. It's not my primary count, but if we're going to be going long in the markets, then we need to understand what the bearish count is. Now, in the markets, I can see that the bearish count here going up for the B wave can be as simple as an A, B, and C wave up through here. It could also be more complicated for a B wave as well, so we could play it another way as well. But I think that the logical thing to do would be to move to the nearest possible bearish count. Now, from the top here to the bottom here, this is the 62 to 65% retracement level, and yeah, so that would make sense. And looking at this as an A and a B and a C wave up here for this. The other thing that I wanted to talk about before we go further is aftermarket today. We have on April the 30th, we have Microsoft and Meta and a handful of others that are doing their earnings, and in the next session we've got Apple and Amazon and I think it's Netflix and a few other big ones as well. So just be a little bit mindful of that. The other thing that's sort of lingering around really is the 90-day tariffs that the US have got on, which is on suspension for anybody above the baseline of 10%. But that came in on the 9th of April, so that will take off on the 10th of July. So that gives us sort of, I'm in Australia, so we're in the 1st of May today. So that gives us really up until June, really, that we could be pushing to the upside, depending on how things, work out in the meantime. But just a couple of little things there that sort of need to be sort of pointed out. So this particular bearish, I'm actually not bearish. I've been bullish from the lows here. It's just that I haven't been able to really get a concrete count from a variety of markets. I can look at the yields and the dollar, and I could see they came in and support, and we talked about those last week, I think, in one way or another. So they're sort of supporting the markets, but even stocks. But it was interesting doing the stocks video today because I could start to see stocks that could be turning. I mean, I'm bullish with most of them, with all of them really. I mean, the ones that I cover, half a dozen or 10 or 8 or whatever I cover, and you see Netflix moving along quite nicely, and I still call Bitcoin a tech stock, so that's moving along nicely as well, and still got further to the upside. It'll stall at 100,000 and all those sort of things, but some of the other stocks, like Meta, and if they push up a little bit higher, they're going to start to turn into bullish patterns. They're going to confirm bullish patterns, rather, But this bearish pattern, let's just go through this a little bit here. So if I go from the daily chart, let's go down to, let's just say 2 hours here. So on the 2-hour chart here, this would be the A wave, the B wave here, and the C wave up here. So we could look at this as 1 and 2 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the third wave, the fourth wave, and fifth. So we could end there, cover this gap over here. We know that, this is the other high over here. So, there's going to be some, in this whole block, there's going to be pressure. The trading level stuff from 5 to 8 here, those two numbers there, they're important, and you can see that in history. There's numbers in between those as well within group 2. We don't need to go into that. So if this did turn from this particular point here, it still doesn't actually make it bearish, because we could view this, or still we could view all of this up here as wave 1 up here and pulling back for wave 2. Because there are markets like the DAX that have got quite nice counts to the upside. Like on the US markets, this was a little bit complicated down here and could be interpreted in different ways, But if I just went over to the DAX for a moment, there's 2 different ways we could count the DAX up. But if we just have a look at it briefly here, and if I just put this some other things in. So in this case, we could view this as 1 and 2 here, and 1 and 2 here, and then a nice third wave all the way up here as 1 and 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for third, fourth, and fifth. So we've got the third, the fourth here. We're going up for the third, the fourth, and then the fifth here. So when we get up to here, we could actually have a nice ABC pattern coming into play here. So we could look at this as going 3, 4, and 5 here and finishing, and then having an ABC pattern here and then going up again. So that's kind of interesting, isn't it? It's a nice, this has moved, this has gone a long way up here compared to its drop here, hasn't it? I would like to offer a special discount on our services, and this discount will go until Tuesday. And normally we charge $69 a month, but until Tuesday we're going to do a 2-week trial for $1, and then once that's finished it'll be $29 a month. So that's pretty much a 58% discount, 60% discount, and as long as you keep this, then you can continue with this. If you cancel this, you probably won't get it back again. Now, for this, you get everything that TradingLounge has. So we've got 7 analysts, we've got some AI tools, chat lounge, those sorts of things. So this is our portfolio. So we've got this portfolio here for trade recommendations and a lot of other functionality in here for stocks, Australian, US and Indian stocks, and the same for crypto and forex and commodities. Chat lounge here, which I won't go into, but it's quite busy, and you can talk to all the analysts within this particular space here. And we've got all our analysis in here that you can go to. Like I say, 7 of us doing work into this particular space. We've got our own Elliott Wave Algo chart as well here. So let me just I thought I was already logged in, but so with this particular charting here, you can do your own Elliott Wave algorithm here to get your own count. So all these counts here will be automatically applied. We've also got AI technology in here as well. We're also putting out our trades in here as well. So if you're looking to trade, a particular market in here, the 7 analysts in here are putting out trades on different markets, and this charting program is free. You can also see from here as well in this section here, you can have a look at other analysts' work in here. So as they update things live, you can go in here and see the analysts doing their work here as such. So it's a great little sort of program, and anyway, that's that. So there's we'll probably run this until next Tuesday. I'm just doing an experiment on pricing, so if you're fortunate enough to get this, you can keep it, but after that it won't be there. Alrighty. And the FTSE is the same, the Australian market and other markets. So just pointing out that when you look around at the other markets, it kind of makes sense to look at it like this, doesn't it? But coming back to the SPX here for a moment, and having this kind of weakness in the market and volatility in the market here, it does enable us to count it in different ways. So I can count this here as 1 and 2 here on the bullish. Now we're looking at the bullish count, okay? So so in this case, we can look at it as 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 here, and going up for the third. So this would take us up a little bit longer here. So I've got to basically drag the DAX and the FTSE and all most of the other indices into the same pattern. So in this case, 3, 4, 5. So this one here will take us up much longer up here. This is a little bit like sort of Netflix, this particular count here. So this one here that I've got, maybe it's too elongated to go to the upside like this. And this is also counting 5 waves up here as 1 and 2 in this case. So this can also, as I mentioned yesterday, this could also be counted differently as well. So there's different ways to count this. If I had a look at another way to count this, if I just go to the SPI here for a moment, and we're just talking, we're just shooting the breeze about how we could possibly count it off the lows here. So as I've mentioned before here, this move down from the B wave here as 1 and 2, we could look at all of this as the third wave here, the fourth and the fifth. And if I look at this here on, say, maybe a 30-minute chart could do the trick. I could go smaller. So if we forget about that spike that happened here, then we could look at this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. It's truncated, but we have 5 waves in this move here, so we could view it like that. And if that was the case, then we could look at this here as wave 1 here with an A and a B and a C for 2 here, then up for 1 and back for 2, and then moving up even higher up at this point. One of our main things here really with the SPX and the SPI is this on the SPX, this will be 5,500, but 5 is the second strongest number in the market, and it was resistance over here, and we could see that the way that it got sold off here. But it's been chipping away at the supply, and now it's basically sitting up there as support, isn't it? So it's migrated, and I've got to take in all of this chart over here from here to here to here to here. So it's basically a little battle going on here for support or resistance, and it looks like it's got it as support now. So that's interesting, isn't it? So in one way or another, it doesn't really matter what the count is to the upside. We will be pushing up higher here now that we've got support. So this is just another way to count it to the upside. If I go to the futures contracts here, not the large, just the E-minis here that most folks sort of trade. Once again, this is on 30-minute chart here. Once again, you can see the 5,500. It was resistance, and now it's support, isn't it? We talked about going long in this in the other video, but I don't need to go there right at the moment. But this is 1 and 2 here, and 1 and 2 and 3. So this, even this little move here, has still got further to push up here as well. So this will be, even just from this one here, this will be 1 and 2 here, and 3 and 4 and 5 here. Then this wave 1 will come into play here, and then there'll be this one here. So at minimum, there's going to be that in the next session. So we can come into this particular wave 3 at this point here, and wave 4 pulling back a little bit further, coming into support, and then pushing up further again at that point. But in this case, I've got this counted a little bit differently here. I've got this, if we just squash it up a little bit, I've still got it as 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 here. But I'm just pointing out that this, all of this can be counted differently here. We've got stocks like Meta that I won't go in at the moment, but it's coming off a low with 5 waves at the moment, and it looks like it's going to breach that, and so it's got a lot further to go up. So we've got these putting these trades in here now. I mean, Meta's quite interesting because Meta was one of the weaker ones. If we just have a look at this for a moment, one of the things here is that this is just the low area here, right? So in this case, interesting because this low here took this low out. Now, it didn't do it on all charting programs, so you might have this above this particular low here. So then we'd need to reconcile this as being bullish as well. But from this case, it's taken the low out here. And what I think is really interesting here, because Amazon and this particular stock were one of the weakest, but we actually have a nice little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 1 and 2, nice strong third wave here, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here for this. So we've got a 1 and 2. So if we're not there yet, if this market moves up here and triggers that long trade here, then this 5 waves here is going to produce another 5 waves. So we're going to be going up a lot further at that point, So that's interesting. And the other real weak one was Amazon as well. So these are just trades here, new trade section. It's the same here as well. But I've got, in this case, it didn't take the low out here. But I don't really, I can go 3, 4, 5 here and do all the right things at that particular point in time. But when you get spikes in the market, I think they're a little bit iffy, and you need to sort of move with the main traffic and sometimes ignore the highs and lows of them. And sometimes you need to take them on board, but they're kind of like annoying situations to a point, but it was like Meta and it did come quite low here. But even so, if, let's just put it this way, if this this is where the bullish market is just slowly coming in. If we accepted this as the low here and we looked at this as an A wave here and a B wave here, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up here, which is pretty clear, and that would be an ABC pattern, and then we'd come down at that point, wouldn't we? But if this was wave 1 here and an ABC for wave 2, and we go up here and we breach that entry point there, right? Then it confirms this as corrective, and then we'll just be going higher at that point. So we're at a junction point here where we're starting to see these sorts of little things in the market where we can start ticking boxes and look at things being more bullish and pushing to the upside. I mean, I've been bullish, but I haven't been able to confirm it, and I still can't confirm it, and it may not get confirmed. We've got earnings in the next session for Apple and Amazon coming out. Apple's in the same boat as well. So once these get triggered here, then that puts us in a bit of a bullish stance for a further move to the upside. We're only trading up to 200 for this. We'll get back in, or we may change that or whatever. But just pointing out that some of the stocks in a strange way are turning bullish. Okay, so I think that's kind of interesting in its sort of own right. So there's a lot of different ways to counter everything to the upside, but at the moment, and as I've mentioned before, is I'm not seeing any bearish intraday counts coming in. I mean, if I saw something that was pretty clear, if we went here as 4 and 5 here, and then we've seen a decent 5 waves down at this point, well then sure, I'd look at being bearish at that point, but I still wouldn't turn bearish until we had the corrective rally at that point. But yeah, so there's no the whole thing may be a corrective bear rally, but and I can't prove that, and I can't prove the bullish side just yet either. But as the days have gone on, and there's been plenty of them all through here, the bullish case has been, more and more and more, and all the commentators that have been bearish through all of this, they start changing their minds now into being bullish now as well. But I'm just saying that we can't even confirm the bullish side just yet, but it is the basis of it, really. So it's just like we went long in Tesla right on its lows, because just being how worse can it get? You know what I mean? So all the worst is out there. Everybody's aware of the worst. So it can only get better. And then Elon sort of, has got to walk back to the car yard and sell cars again, So that's that for the minis. So this was resistance here, the 500, and you can clearly see it's support now, and we'll be pushing up. And if these earnings are good for these stocks that I mentioned, we've got Microsoft and Meta today after market, and then tomorrow, the Thursday, we've got Apple and Amazon. So if those long trades trigger in, we're going to be a little bit more bullish. So I can turn this into more of a bullish count without any problems whatsoever. But there's no bearish count here at the moment for this. Let's have a look at the Nasdaq. So this is the cash market on a 30-minute chart for the Nasdaq, and once again you can see that this particular spike here, I could look at it a little bit differently here, and I could actually have the low on this one over here and have this as wave 1 up here. And I could probably even drop this down a degree of structure as well, by the way. So there's different ways to view all this and to count this to the upside. The main point with the Nasdaq is that we're facing the 20,000, which is a major trading level 2, and it'll be a little bit sticky in that regard. And there's stocks like Microsoft that are approaching 400. So those type of stocks will help the Nasdaq stall at this particular point. But this 20,000 is currently a resistance and we wanted a support. So this, if this is the 20,000 across here, or Microsoft at 400, and we're approaching it here, you know, we need to be way over here. We need to wait for the first high above the level, which will be in group 1. So we've got to get from here over to here for this before we go long on the Nasdaq or the QQQ or the XLK and all those sort of things, right? We need to be over here for this. Now, this may be a quick process and quite small, or it might be time consuming and large. We don't know just yet, but as you can see, that's, you know, this is going to be a problem area here. It's also going to be some sort of Fibonacci retracement level space there as well. And there's different ways to interpret this whole wave count coming up here as well. So, you know, I don't need to have this as 1 and 2 here. I could just have all of this as 1 and 2. And I could even look at this as, I could just look at this as completely different. So even though I've got these different highs here, right, you know, we could end up having, I'm kind of looking for, all I'm really looking for here is the first high above the level. So this wave 1 over here that I got here, that may end up being over here for that. And it will probably be 1 degree smaller as well. So it's either going to be here or here. And I don't have the complete answer to that just yet, but I'll need to tie in the tech stocks, the banks, the other indices around the world, the bonds, the dollar, all of those will sort of come into play, and they'll all sort of be turning around that particular point. We're not there yet, but we'll, you know, give it another week or 2 weeks, you know, we'll be much closer to that particular point in there, and then that's where we'll be. So yeah, so that's that really. Nothing to do at this particular point. I've got this counted like this. I may have the futures counted. I won't go to the QQQ, but no point just yet. But yeah, this has moved up here, so this is counted a little bit differently here. This is kind of a bit nicer in a way. A bit nicer in the way that it would basically be more in line with the DAX. Not that the DAX is pulling this around at all, but you know, it would be I don't know how complicated this wave 4 is going to get, but we'll look for 5 waves up here for you know, for this here and so on. Let me just open that up a little bit, but there's nothing to do here because this 20,000 is it doesn't have to be a sticky number, but it's likely to be a bit sticky, you know. If it's not, it won't get away on us because we'll wait for the first high wherever that is, and then we can go long above that. But it will be something like this here, and then we'll look at this here as 1 and 2. Oops, a daisy. We'll look for this as 1 and 2 over here, and then, you know, to the upside at that point. So that's that. So yeah, look, in a nutshell, we need to have this as support over here, and this will be where all over this side over here will be where we'll be looking to go long over here, and we could sort of work this over here and probably get in a position over here. We need all of this to finish over to here, let it finish, and then we just monitor this side, and then we start looking for trades for this one. We need to be on this side over here. If I get this totally wrong and it's just going to continue to push up here, well then we'll catch that as well, because once this high is done here, then we'll be able to see how complicated this wave 4 is here, and then we can trade the wave 5 up. But if it's not wave 5 and I need to look at this as wave 1 and 2 and keep building to the upside, we'll see that at the time. So stay open, stay flexible, but we don't want to go long into such a large number where we know there's resistance there. We need for it to go up and come back and test it. Okay, let's have a look at the European markets. Okay, so this is the cash market here, the DAX. So it's probably moved up there already a little bit, but we had a look at this just a moment ago. So this is really quite a nice count, and I really feel that we should kind of use this as a bit of a blueprint for the other indices. Now, this wave 3 here. So we could look at this a little bit differently as well. We can shorten this. I think on the futures market that I've got this wave 3, minor wave 3 here, sitting over here for this, but I don't like it. It's a little bit short there. I'm quite sort of happy with this. I could see that we could rearrange this as well, this trend here. I mean, I like it the way that it's crept up here. It's definitely got wave 3 sort of personality. Let's just see what I've done with the futures market here, because it would have included the US session in on this. Yeah, it's just pushed up there. So yeah, in this one, you see how I've got this as wave 3 here and 4 here, and wave 5 finishing up here. So also this number here, the 23,000, it's the top of minor group 1, which is really important. We're going to see a larger correction of this play here, which would also make sense as well with the Nasdaq being at the 20,000 and so on, right? So I've got two different types of tops here, so we'll just wait and see what they are. And yeah, but once again, it's even on the futures, it's got a nice third wave up here. I'm just not happy with this wave 4 being so small, right? Doesn't really work for me, but we'll just see how it plays out up here. I mean, I always look for long trade setups on the top of minor group 1, and minor group 1, this is what happened here at the previous level, right? I expect a bigger version of that to be over here. So we've got a little bit of work to do there. Let's have a look at the FTSE on the next one. This is the FTSE, and it's a CFD. It's IG markets data here, so it's much the same as the futures, just a CFD. With the main thing here is the 8,500. Right, so you can see over here that it's got history, and 5, you don't have to worry about the 8, but the 500, 5 is the second strongest number, so we're going to see some sort of dance across this particular level. I'll just go to the futures market though on this FTSE here, and just want to see what I've done here. Yeah, so still below the level. Let me just have a look at that again. FTSE IG 85, it's above here. So I mean, with the CFD, they use the cash market during the day and the futures market in the off session, and then they've got a thing called fair value in terms of pricing things. But it's interesting to see that it's popped its head up here above the 5 already. But that, like the other markets, the US markets that I mentioned, that will just push up a little bit further. There's different. We'll look at this count here on the. Where are we here? This one here. I've got a feeling this is not quite right here. I feel like this has got to go over here, but there's overlapping wave structures in this, but I think it's going to be something like this. We know that the other market has already sort of pushed up here and will push up a bit further, but I think we've got something like this here before we, whoops-a-daisy. Bear with me here for that. Let's so I think it's a little bit of a dog's breakfast here. I mean, it just doesn't count very well here, but I was thinking, this is the low here, below this one here. So we really got to look at this as 1 and 2 here. And then I was thinking of 1, 2, 3 overlapping here for 4, I get that, and then 5 up here for the third wave, the fourth wave, and the fifth wave here to get to that third, and then this move up there. So I don't know how far this is going to pull back, but there will be some sort of dance across here. All I can see you doing is losing money in this little space here, so we wait for the first high above the level, not this one, but this one. Wait for this to finish and drop back down, have a decent drop back down, and then we can look for the long trade over here for this. I just feel like we have to allow, if you start chasing this up here around this number, it's going to be, as a CFD, it's going to cost you an overnight financing, and it's going to be choppy, and there's not going to be much range in it. It's just going to give you grief. So wait for it to come back. There is really good, all of this over here is really good. All of this is really good support over here for this. So this is where we need to be, and we'll watch it push up from that point. But that's where we are at the moment for that. I'll just leave that mess there, and we'll have a look at the Australian market. Okay, so this one here, I've got it finishing a little bit earlier here. So let me just play this out here. There'll be wave 1 up here, and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 up here, and then the ABC pattern to come into play here. Now this is a little bit early, so the only other difference that I could make here is bring this wave 3 over to here, but I won't do that just yet. I'll just allow this to play out here. Now I had a quick look at CommBank. I couldn't decipher the whole pattern, but I can say that let's just go here. This is CommBank here. We can say with CommBank here that this move here is corrective in 3 waves. So we should push up to about 172 in this case. So we need to see this push up here on well, whatever banks, just using it as a guiding light. So for this to push up here and complete, that would be about right. So yeah, I'm still to me, in a way, this is a little bit sort of weird, but this is the first reaction here. So to me, this is the arrival, the reaction, and all of this is the same trend. So it's the first high above the level that I'm still looking for, even though this is a high and this is a high and this is a high. Yeah, let's just see where we are. If this is not going to stop, and this is just going to continue all the way, just keep going up here, well then it will be this number here, the 8.3, that we decide that we're not pulling back at this point, and we'll look for a classic trading levels pattern here, and then we'll be looking to go long at that point. But we need that set up at that number. The number 3 there will sever any pull coming back to this number, and this move here can come up above the level here as well. It's not, it's about, at the end of the day, it's about this number. Is it tested support or is it not? If it's tested support, then we go higher. If it's not, then this is where we come back and have a correction at that point. So that's that at this point. So you can trade long, right? You can trade long. Day traders can try to go from 100 to 200. That's the trade. Right now, between those two numbers, the 5 is going to be the tricky one here. Well, so obviously this high over here as well, but 5 is the second strongest number, so that 50 is going to be the main point. So you got 10, 20 and 30, which is, so getting a tested, if you want to go along, getting a tested support on 81.30, the top of group 1 is the next step, and that'll take you to 50, where you'll see a sort of struggle at that point. And then from 50 you go to 80, but when you go to 80 you talk about group 2, which would be 65, 72 and 80, all of group 2 there. So basically just breaking it down between 1 and 2 there will be the Fibonacci numbers 1, 2, 3, 5 and 8. So they can be helpful for support and resistance, and getting in and getting out and setting stops and all of those sorts of things. But yeah, so this wave 3 here and 4 and 5, it may be okay and it may be correct, or we'll have one more push up there, and then eventually this wave 3 would come to this point here. But the main point here too is that we have been in this particular trend that's been coming up here. We have been, it has been moving along, quite nicely, but at the same time, it's been going for quite some time. We're just starting to see, when we look at, this low here compared to this high here, there's space there. This high here compared to the previous high, there's space. When we look at this low here compared to the previous high here, we just start to see a little bit of overlapping there. And then we look at this one here that's overlapping this one here. So what we're seeing, that we're seeing the market starting to slow down and creep and have overlapping wave structures. Not serious at this point, but it is displaying weakness. So at least, one more high up here would be about right. We can sort of may get the two of them, but I'm just pointing out we're getting close to it. I mean, it's either this one, correction, and then this one, and then this one. It'll be something, one of these two. But we'll see where the banks are at that particular point. And yeah, I mean, this wave 2 that I've got. I mean, I've got this different here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here for 1 and 2. I just find this wave 4 here a little bit small. I can make it look a little bit bigger in that case, but generally speaking, it's a little bit small, in this case. I'll sort all that out later. But yeah, you want to be looking for this one here for that, or you can just go long above that, But obviously there's supply here that it needs to deal with. So from these tops here to these lows here, that's all of that, which will be, it's all about that number there really. So that's that. Alrighty, I'll leave it at that. I'm just going to remove that there, but yeah. Alrighty, cheers.